I think I had the computer microphone on there too. So hopefully I got it cut out. So it should be clear now. Let me know. Hey John M. Hope you're doing well. Hopefully the echoes are cleared out. Check with that. I don't know. Looks like we're still having some fuzzy picture, but I will put up a hard copy. I've got it recording also, so I'll put that up. So if we have any need to see the pictures a little clearer, it'll be up shortly later tonight. So anyway, but hopefully that cleared the sound up. What have you guys been doing? Anything good this week? I've had a fun week. Like I said, we had the Georgia DOT coaches class going on. It was a great group of folks. Always good to work with them, and we did a lot of train the trainer stuff to get them to go out and be able to teach some of the other new employees and refresher courses for the older employees. So it's a pretty neat program we're able to do down there. It's kind of our 3-day storm sawing workshop with a lot of discussion about teaching and communication. So it went very, very well. Very good, John. I'm glad it sounds good there now. So we had 3 days just absolute gorgeous weather. I don't think it got maybe 81 degrees down there or something like that. All clear, just a light breeze in the woods. It was pretty cool. So it worked out really good. Hopefully y'all haven't had too much rain and bad weather this week. I think the rain coming back in here for the weekend. I haven't really checked though. Gonna look at that and see what we had coming in here for Rome. Been looking down in Tennille. Oh, looks like a nice weekend. 86 degrees high and sunshiny both days, all 3 days, tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday. So I'm getting a little bit of an error message here. Hopefully it doesn't knock us off. Going good. John M. running 3/8 043 Pico Micro on steel 201 TC. Really enjoying it. Crosscut 16-inch black cherry, no problems. Yeah, I was looking at the DOT yesterday. We were talking about the micro. They had been using the Pico Super on the 043 gauge. They thought, but I don't know. I was looking it up. I couldn't find where the Pico Super 3 was anything except for 50 gauge. I don't know. I've got to recheck that. They had been using it, and the later chain that they got was the Pico Micro 3, and it is pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. They're running it on the pole saws, so it was pretty neat looking chain. I think I've got a piece of that. The only thing they're getting all kind of messed up as far as the gauge on the chains, because most all of their earlier pole saws with say 12, 14-inch bars on them, they've got the 50 gauge bar, and I was running into quite a lot of that with the issue. You put that 43 gauge on there, and it turns into a pole saw swing. Sometimes you get about halfway through the tree or limb, and it starts to kind of pinch sideways and lock up. But it's a very lightweight chain, very fast, that's for sure. On 201 TC, that thing ought to be really getting it. So, but have you tried any of the Super, John, the Pico Super? I hadn't. I've never really tried that. All I had was a Pico Micro. Speedcut Nano 325. Yeah, I've got that on. I've used that on pole saws before. Had a 325 pitch. They had it set up on that, and then I think the Husqvarna the electric saws, the battery saws come with that 325 pitch 043 in their chain, and it cuts pretty well. It seems like it looks kind of real flimsy, but the hardness and all now and the metal processes they use, it's pretty strong stuff. It kind of resists a lot of bending and stuff, so it's a pretty strong drive link down in the rail. And the chain surfaces, the cutting surfaces hold up really well. So your line clearance trimming this week, huh, John? That's what you do all the time, isn't it? That's John Durant. I don't know if you guys seen, I've been putting up a lot of little shorts from some old video work that I've done over the past year, and some of the neat things I've been kind of cutting and pasting. I'm playing with the video editor, and I found that there's a lot of neat stuff that I had, and when I cut it down, it makes it a lot more concise. And I've been posting a lot of those. I've been posting about one a day on YouTube, and then on Instagram and the Facebook Reels, and it's come out pretty good. I'm trying to get a little bit fancier, a little bit more professional with the presentations on the videos. Hopefully it comes out better before too long. I had a question came in. Somebody was asking about the height measure techniques we use. It was Jim Patterson. Patterson sent me a message, interested in putting together a video on that, and I made some headway on it here this morning. I did a little bit lining up on a pine tree there. I'm going to do a couple other shots and put together a little video on the height measure with a stick. A lot of people, we use that a good bit in our training program, looking at the able to check the height to one limb or a cat face or total height on the tree. And a lot of people are kind of amazed how that stick can work. So, and John Durant, that can work out really good on tree clearance, line clearance. We used to use that and my cross sight tool that I developed. I think I have one of them in here, but it's really neat to go under the power line center lead and be able to, you can check the height of trees and know what clears and what doesn't. And so we used it a lot over the years in different power classes, and Tennessee Valley Authority and some of the others working around the power lines. As it helps you be able to see how tall the trees were in respect to the power line, and then also we use it all the time to get clearance to trees, as well as different building and fence structures and things like that. So it's a pretty neat technique to use. All the guys did pretty well with it this week. I was pretty pleased with how they applied everything. So it seems like I get a lot more viewers on the shorts for some reason. I guess all of us are kind of busy, so it's neat. I do the same thing, John. I go through and kind of scroll through the ones I've got selected in the mornings, and it makes it pretty nice to see what everybody's doing and kind of get lined up for the day. Goes pretty good. I had some discussion this week with one of the guys. He's involved in some of the Georgia forestry stuff, and he was talking about, he had heard there's a new training program with the Forest Service coming out, and the instructors are working on it right now. They're kind of calling it the Thinking Sawyer. It's along the lines of what I think it's MCDC, whatever you say about the land management, and also the S212. And he was asking about it, and I've been very involved with that since about 2015, and it's now coming out to the instructors and starting to show up in the field. And it's pretty neat, basically using 5 to 6 step planning processes and applying it to their saw work. And it's it's come along pretty good. And I was telling him, if you haven't checked it out on our podcast series on Google, it's on Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts, just about all the providers. Just put in Along the Four Steps Road, or you can search Tim Ard, and it comes up. And I had an interview with Pete Duncan, and Pete is the chainsaw head for the U.S. Forest Service. He handles all the chainsaw activities and training, organization and stuff, and so he's the one putting together this program with some of the other folks, and so it's a good interview with him, letting everybody know what's entailed in that new system that they're coming out with, and so that's out there and available too. Hey, David Vossler, yeah, the cross site is still available. You can get it off our website, or I believe they still have supplies at treestuff.com and Cheryl Tree. So I think they're still available, both those. But I've got quite a few of them. So if you're interested in it, I don't sell a whole lot of them. They did pretty well with it. I don't sell a whole lot of them because sticks are cheaper, but it is nice to have the pocket tool to work with. So it's a pretty neat tool to open up and check the height with. But yeah, they're still available off our website, and they're out of a pretty durable material. They're a little bit expensive to put them together, but it works and lasts a lot longer than they used to. So it's a pretty neat tool. But I'm gonna do a video and kind of show both of those things, but the more or less a little bit more in the concept of how the triangulation works. A lot of people have trouble trying to figure out how that works into checking the height of a tree, but it can work pretty well. But I'll try to have that out probably by Wednesday, probably of next week. Try to work on it. We're headed this week to Augusta, Georgia. We've got the city there in Richmond County. We'll be doing 2 groups with 2-day programs there. And so we get there Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Tuesday's a day 1, Wednesday's day 2, and then we do another day 1 on Thursday and day 2 on Friday, and then we'll be back home. And then I think the following week we're headed up to Chicago area, or maybe it's South Carolina that week. I'll look here and see. But yeah, South Carolina the week of the 26th, week 40, and so we'll be in South Carolina all that week. And then the following week we will be in Chicago. Actually, we'll be in the Chicago area for 2 weeks. We'll be working with Parks and Recs Department, and then also with the Glenview Park District, and so we'll be up there week of the 3rd and week of the 10th, and then we go directly from there to Massachusetts. We'll be I think about 3 different locations in Massachusetts with the Massachusetts insurance. So we'll be up there working. And then the last week of October, we'll be back in Georgia. We'll be doing another coaches train the trainer class, and I think that's going to be almost down to I think it's almost down to the Florida border. It'll be Tifton, in the Tifton area. I think is where they've got it going right now somewhere. So that'll be at the start off at the Tifton Center and go over to another site, I guess. Yeah, I found it, Laura. I was backwards on the weeks. We got a pretty full October. I guess November too. I think we'll be home about the middle of Thanksgiving week, and that's about it. Lots of training going on, lots of saw work. A lot of the cities and towns and states are cleaning up a lot of stuff, and fall of the year too. Makes it a little bit nicer to run saws. Do you know why Husqvarna stops their 3/8 50 gauge at 32 inch? After that, go to 3/8 58 or 63. I think it's more towards the bar, John. When you get up in the longer bars, the larger gauge is a little bit more stable, but it's kind of a marketing thing, I guess. You get out west coast and then some in New England area too. The 58 and 63 gauge is a little bit more prevalent. Get around the larger metro areas and most everything is stayed to the 50 gauge. But you know, the drive link, a little bit thicker gauge like the 63, there's no press down on the drive link, so you've got a pretty strong drive link. And so in the longer bars where you've got it pulling out of the bar more and twisting, they tend to go with that. So but it's kind of a marketing thing. Steel's got them either way. They used to push it all to 63 gauge. That was about all you had on Steel except for the Pico chain. Everything else was 63 gauge. Even you had the 36 and you had the 26. All of it 63 gauge on 325 and 3/8. But then marketing started to change in the metro areas and they started going to the 50 gauges because that's what a lot of the other manufacturers were using. Husqvarna in the south was pretty much all 50 gauge, and then you get up in the New England area, they were all 58. You get out west, it was all 63 because there's a lot of the Steel presence out there with the 63 gauge. But you can check on the Oregon site. They may have a 50 gauge in the 36 or even longer. I haven't looked up. I don't run too many of the longer bars unless I'm out west with it or something. Most everything I have is I've got a 28, about the longest thing I've got. 20s and 28s I use most of the time. Yeah, John, it's the 63 used to be a big thing, but now it's mostly all 50. But if you go kind of look at here on the well, anyway, you can look in that selector. It may show what you want. Phone's kind of slow, but anyway. But I'm pretty sure they've got a 50 gauge in a 36. I don't know. It may not have, John. Looks like it may be 63 gauge on that too. That's kind of like a 32-inch pruning saw. Climbing with it. That's a little bit stout. I guess she was in a big piece of wood. I was just checking, John. I don't think everything's 63 up on the larger. Most of the large Husqvarna bars are Oregon too, I guess, so that's probably the same situation. One thing too, when you get up in a larger, longer bar length like that, is that the 63 gauge can give you more surface on the sprocket, so that can be a little bit of an asset too. A little bit more strength on the link, and then it can give you a little bit more surface, especially if you're running star type, or spur type sprocket. But it gives you more surface on the the drive on a rim sprocket also. So that's kind of something to look at with a long long bar and chain, or really anything. That's the reason why we used to use it on even the smaller saws, like with the at 16, 18 to 20 inch on the 325 pitch with the 63 gauge with the higher RPM. It kept a lot of sprocket wear down, a lot more surface there to carry the load. So, John, we had that discussion that started last week, and I haven't really had many comments on it about one-handed saw use. Now, you're not one-handed at 395 with a 32-inch bar on it, are you? If you are, you got some real guns there to work with. I guarantee you that. But it's not definitely not one you want to be one-handed, is it? But a lot of people stay away from the discussions on top handle saws and one-handed. But I challenge you to really look at position and those kinds of thing and practice it with both hands on the saw. It can make a big difference sometimes. Like I was saying last week, I was talking to a gentleman, and basically the situation with one-handed is not so much necessarily the reactive forces as it is fatigue factors, and you get a limb or something that happened to be up or crossed over something else, and you start to try to take that limb out across from the trunk or something, and it comes back and pushes a chainsaw at you. If you've got one hand on it, you don't have the control that you've got with two on there. So it's just quite a bit of things to think about there when you're working with a saw. One-handed is just a matter of time before you end up with it getting into you or a leg or hitting something you don't want to hit with it. That's for sure. Yeah, a good friend of mine, Robert Albritton, we were discussing it about the one hand, and he said if he did ever use it, then he's got it. It starts the kerf and with both hands, and then maybe to get a little bit away from the situation, he might then cut on through it with one hand, but it still gets kind of tricky on some of that. If it does pinch and you start pulling, or limb drops a little bit funny or whatever. So just be very, very careful with that, and try to plan to work away from the one-handed operations. So you got it. I figured it was dogged in, John, instead of doffed. Your spell check works like mine does sometimes. But anyway, it's best not to reach out and extend yourself too much if you can possibly move. That's for sure. Especially if you're working with a large saw up there in the tree, it's very important that you've got your position correct, and that you're in control of those movements. A lot of power can get away from you up there when you get a little tired. Gentlemen, I think I'm going to. We just got in. I haven't even eaten anything yet this evening, and I'm going to try to work on a little bit of the video from today. Try to get that done, and I'll post the hard copy of this one, and we will pick up any discussions or anything next week, and be back on Thursday night. That'll be coming to you live from Augusta, Georgia, next Thursday night. So we will pick up, and I'll have more time to kind of talk and go through things if you have any questions. And please, anything that you think about, any questions or things you'd like to see videos on, please send them to me, either on chat or send them on info@forstaps.com, and I'll try to work on it through, because I have a lot of good opportunities with the with the different training aspects. So just let me know. But y'all have a great weekend, and we'll catch up to you next week sometime. And I wish all of you good sawing, and be careful out there. We'll talk to you later.